Kevin, Tiki and Tierney, what's happening, man? How you doing today?
Boys, what's going on?
Oh, good. Oh, listen, you can pick this up, man. I mean, obviously, we all know the stories that are really interesting, which players are the best in the game, what teams have a real shot to win a championship, and we can certainly hit aspects of that. But I said to Teak, I said, there's not many teams going into the season that really have almost no chance to compete. I would put the Pirates there, probably the Rockies. Like, there's just not many teams who aren't trying to win this year. Am I wrong when I say that? Do you sense that?
I absolutely love what you said because the parity in baseball, the NFL goes through that, right? There's a few teams that are always a little bit better, like the Dodgers and the Yankees, a little bit better than everybody else. But you look at the parity, and what the Rays did last year, it's a perfect example that it could happen. This is a payroll of whatever it was, $60 million, or exactly the number, and compared to a Dodgers payroll that's over $200 million or whatever that was, and they met at the biggest stage in our game, which is the World Series. So I think GMs, front offices, they're picking a little bit of both. You see money spent, and you also see that, we can get smart and figure it out bullpen-wise. They're starting to get paid more, the bullpen guys, because games are won from the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings.
Yeah.
That's where the game's won. And starters almost taking a back seat unless you're that 8th guy.
Yeah, it's a good point, and you see that, and it's how teams are starting to build their staffs, and it's important. Just from a visual standpoint, I remember watching the games after all of the brouhaha between the owners and the players last year, and they finally started playing baseball, and it was like, man, that looks really empty. It is. I know it's they covered it up as best they could, but it was rough. Watching baseball right now with fans in the stadium. Now, I know it's sparse, but at least there's fans in the stadium. I know you've had conversations with some of these guys, and spring training, gave us a little bit of a semblance of this. But how different, refreshing is this for the players to actually have, guys, people cheering, 7-inning stretches of people actually standing up? I mean, how awesome is this for the players?
Well, you feed off the energy. I mean,
Yes.
inter-squads, we've all played them. We've all had 2 days in football. We've all had inter-squads in baseball. Practices in the gym for basketball, but what we really feed off as players, and Pete knows, it's the energy and the passion and getting screamed at, whether they're telling you suck, whether they're telling you they love you. But when you go into Yankee Stadium as a Red Sox player, it's miserable in a fun way. Like, they're all over you, and the home team is the New York Yankees. It's the same thing when you roll into Fenway Park, and you're warming up and you're Roger Clemens or somebody coming Ray Johnson. It's every word in the world, but that's the energy and the passion that you feel as a player. Now, last year was special and the pandemic, and we're all over that whole situation. Hopefully we keep moving forward and doing our thing. But my goodness gracious, was it strange in all sports. I mean, you go into Seattle and play the Seahawks, you're telling me that 12th man's not a factor there for the Seahawks and the defense, but yet now you're 3rd and 3 on the 11-yard line. You can raise the radio or the sound up 60%. That's not the same, right? With people banging on the wall, and there's just that type of energy that you all feed from, whether it's your defense or your offense. And so it is an exciting time. We're starting to finally get that play button pushed. It's easy to push stop, but now we're starting to finally get close to that play button, hopefully, and keep moving forward, and everybody stay safe and get this season going.
Talking to Kevin Millar, of course, MLB Network, and they're all over opening day and opening week, of course. It's a staple on both of our remotes. You guys do great work. We love it, and Kevin's a champion back in 2004. To me, the contract that Lindor got is, I know that, listen, you know this from being a Red Sox and playing against the Yankees, but you also know that Met fans obviously know their stuff and are high IQ fans. But I think even like diehard baseball fans, until you actually watch Lindor play every single day, it's the little things, the nuances, even things you can't necessarily quantify in the stat column, Kevin. I think that Kevin Millar, I think that he is worth every single penny. I do. I was surprised that at least for like 2 or 3 days it seemed to get off track there. There was never a doubt that Stevie Cohen of the New York Mets were going to get this guy the contract. What will Lindor do to change the vibe when, now that you have the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Padres, the Mets have been good the last couple of years, but they haven't had that juice. Lindor brings juice. Talk to us about Lindor, what you see and what you expect.
Absolutely wonderful human being. Start right there. We always talk about the player, but let's talk about the person. He's going to make people around him better. You have an obligation when you sign a contract like this to be more than a guy that's going to hit 30 home runs, 300, steal XYZ bases, and drive in how many guys and play great defense. Switch hitter, but he's a winner, and he can do it with a smile. You don't always have to be the Tommy the tough guy on the field. Some guys are, and that's what gets them going. This guy does it with a great smile, and he'll make his teammates around him better. That's the huge difference. If Steve Cohen, the owner, asked him to go visit a school at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, that's an obligation that you have to know that who you're signing that's going to be able to do that and touch kids' lives because the kids are our future. You're not just paid to play baseball. You're paid to make this organization a championship organization. And how do you do that? You do that by treating people great, treating people kind, treating people with respect, people helping people, getting back to that. But I think Francisco Lindor is absolutely perfect for what the Mets need, other than, besides the point that he's going to bring balance in the lineup. There's no matchup for him. He hits good pitching. He plays great defense, and he's a star. And we throw star out a lot.
Yep.
I'm one of those guys. I don't just throw star out because every young kid that comes up and has a good year, that doesn't mean he's a superstar. Francisco Lindor is a superstar in no better stage than New York.
Yeah, it felt like, if we head out to the other coast and go west to talk about the Padres a little bit, they spent some money over the last few years from Hosmer and then Machado and obviously Tatis this season, and Yu Darvish is now in that rotation. They're obviously trying to challenge the Dodgers. They're going to win over 100 games again. David Price didn't even play last year, and they won the World Series. How close are the Padres going to get to unseating this Los Angeles Dodgers squad?
Great question, but you know what they do now? They match up with the Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler, the Walker Buehler, Travis Bauer matchup that the Padres couldn't do before. Chris Paddock was a young kid, had a nice little, 10-game start to his career, and now you're putting him against the big boy aces that have been in the league for a while. What they do now is Yu Darvish, Blake Snell match up with anybody in the league. So any 1-2 punch, for instance, the Mets and DeGrom and Scherzer, that's a nice 1-2 punch to go against, but you have to match up against a DeGrom or Scherzer. And now they can. Offensively, they can hit, right? We know Manny Machado is going to hit 30 and driving 100. Fernando Tatis on a healthy year, this kid's a talent. Who knows what he can do because we haven't quite turned his baseball card around for 10 years and say, hey, he's going to have 30 and 100 and whatever. But you see the talent, and you see a good person. We've had him on the show. He's very respectful. Thank you so much. There's a passion to love what you do. The money comes with everything in the sports, but do you love the game? Do you love being a baseball player? Do you love your teammates? Do you love the organization? Do you love the town and the city that now you're going to make a staple for 10 years?
Yeah.
Your wife's got to be happy. The kid's got to be happy. So that's what I think the Padres have done is that they've now been able to match the Dodgers in that rotation. And offensively, they can compete with anybody because really that infield, Eric Hosmer and Machado and,
Tatis.
Fernando Tatis Jr., listen, they got almost $700 million in that infield.
You better be good.
So we know they're going to produce, but
yeah.
It was the pitchings where the games won, and so now they can do it. So I think it's going to be a great West. And, it's hard to repeat. People forget it's hard to do what the Yankees did in 98, 99, and 2000, right? It's hard to do that. We did it in 04. We couldn't do it in 05. We got swept by the White Sox and Ozzie Guillen and the boys. I don't know why, but you got to get lucky to win a championship. You got to have your pitchers have to be healthy. You got to have no injuries. But if Mookie Betts goes down or a Corey Seager goes down or, one pitcher, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah,
so it'll be a tough year for the Dodgers, but they're deep.
Especially in baseball where there's more randomness than, say, the NBA Finals or something like that. We've got about another minute or so. Talk to Kevin Millar, MLB Network. Of course, he's got a show on there, Intentional Talk, and he's on the weekdays, 5 Eastern throughout the year with Stephen Nelson, MLB Network, all the ongoing opening day MLB coverage throughout the week, obviously, and every night if you're a fantasy fan, if you're a baseball fan. I can't believe I'm going to ask you this question, Kevin, but is Mike Trout still the most talented player in baseball? I feel like this is the only year that we can couldn't ask you that last year. Is he still the most talented player in baseball?
I think so. Until somebody can sit there and be number 1 or 2 in the MVP voting since he's been in the game, yeah, he's the best, right? But now you have some great young talent. The Tatises and the Acuna Juniors and the guys, Trevor Story sits over there in Colorado, check his numbers and doesn't get a whole lot of credit because we sit there and talk about Coors Field. But there is some dynamic. Juan Soto with the Nationals. Put him anywhere you want. Obviously Mookie Betts and that contract. Bryce Harper, I think he has a nice year. He's established and once you sign these big deals, you try hard because you want to prove to the fans in that city that, you're deserving it. But just be who you are. But it takes a year to kind of go, okay, everything's fine. Let me go back to basics. So I think that there's some great talent, but Mike Trout's still number one.
All right, hey, listen, good to have the game back. Good talking shop. Good luck with the new co-host and the show. Nice having you back on, Kevin. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
Boys, I appreciate you.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.